Hello there folks and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Telesky. Thank you for joining me today. We are going to be looking at the map that we were working on yesterday, which is our Mountain Waterfall map, which is a continuation of sorts of the zone that we started a long time ago, Cliffside Cave, and a sequel map that we did a couple weeks ago at this point, I think. That one is Mountain Ascent. So this is the third map in this zone. We did a decent amount of work yesterday. Now that we have spent some time in this zone, it's a little bit easier to do things. You pretty much saw me take what we had pre-planned, brought into this map, and we kind of went from there and did a decent chunk of what we needed to do. We also kind of realized the only thing that was really left out that we needed to kind of work on the way we really needed to was the waterfall itself. Yesterday I had told you I'd really never made a waterfall before, but I'm pretty sure that we nailed something down after hours. I had spent a little bit of time doing some research yesterday. As I said, I was trying to figure out how to best capture this waterfall, and I think what we got here works out pretty well. So just as an explanation, what we did was we framed this cliff with some bigger rocks, so like you don't have anything falling into the river or anything like that. It adds like a nice border to it and everything. We've got these waves here that kind of, lead to the idea that there's a lot of, rapid movement and things like that going into place. And we have these guys here, which are the waterfall stamps that we just slammed the brightness up to 200 and the contrast down to 0. That's what ended up helping that look as nice as it was. We used a little bit of mist down here. This is just like a mist alpha stamp that we can use that helps us to breathe a little bit of life into the bottom of this waterfall. You can still see the cave just a bit. There's enough going on here that you can see a little bit of what's going on. And then the other part that we added was there's actually some snow in here. So I'll throw some down here just so you can see what it is. We're not going to use the top layer. We're going to use, I think it's the background? Foreground? There we go. So that gives that nice like frothy look. So that's what we ended up putting up there. That's why that looks a little bit, bubbly and everything like that. So what we're going to do now is try and clean up a little bit of what we have. I do notice there's a little bit of greenery up here that I'm going to clean up. So let's do, for whatever reason, my computer's running a little slow today. Something like that. We're using the erase tools, so that should be nice. Gets rid of some of that greenery. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is move these cliffs down. So we're going to grab one of these so that we have the style at least. And let's go with the 6 real quick. Figure out where to put that. Something like that. So we'll mess with the sides of this a little bit here and there. And let's see, what do I have right here? Is that part of that cliff up there? That's the cave entrance itself. Got all that mist and everything. That's the waves. That actually looks okay. We might be able to throw a little bit of top layer water over that to disguise that. But let's do this for now. We're going to get some more of that greenery. We're going to get out of the top layer and just go to the foreground. Kind of fill this in. And same thing here for our background. You know what? It's still part of the foreground. That's okay. It's not causing us any problems to have it like that. Okay, now we have to do the other side. Let's grab something like that. Way too small. But, you know what? That's perfectly fine, because when we get to build it out, why does it look so darn small? It's sized the same way as these other guys, I think. Nope, those are 50. Okay. So, I'm going to do it that way instead. Now, what you're going to see down here anyway is very likely some rocks. We'll use the same kind of setup that we had before to kind of give it a little bit more presence. So we don't have to worry too much about what's going on here. Okay, once again, filling some of this area in so it doesn't have that blue underneath it. The fact that we have the clipping mask off of these guys gives us that ability to kind of play around with that a smidge. But we do have to make sure that we are getting rid of the greenery down here. And that, I think what you'll find... Here, we're going to save real quick just because my computer does look like it's fighting me a little bit. I think it's doing that because I have Photoshop open. I'm going to turn Photoshop off. Maybe that'll give us a little bit more hardware power to work with. Got yappy dogs out there. Alright, I'm going to go back to the foreground. Try and paint. There we go. Now it's playing a little nicer with me. So anywhere in the actual river that we have some greenery, we're going to get rid of that. Stuff like that right there. And let's just keep on going while we're here. Keep on doing cliffs all the way down. I'm going to shrink this down to like 40. And that way we have a little bit of a difference here and there. Just something like... You can see I got to delete some of that top brush there. That's the one bad thing that I've noticed so far. It's very difficult to figure out where those things are. So that matches too evenly with that up there. So what we'll do is... There you go. Something like that. That kind of blends in nicer. Go back to the top brush, go to erase, size that up a lot. Ooh, we lost a lot there. That's right. So we're going to go back into this little green patch right here. Something like that. That looks nicer. And it gives us stuff we can play with. But I am also already noticing there's more of it here. Back to the foreground, shrink that down a smidge, get rid of some of this stuff here. Oh, we've got the opacity down, but at least I'm noticing it quicker nowadays, one day later. Green area right there, and switch to this. Hey Meeple, how's it going? I spotted you briefly yesterday, but I don't know if you caught me saying hello or not. Okay. One more little thing of cliffs. We are going to bring this down to 30 since this is so far down. Oop. Gotta make sure my num lock is on. 30 might be a little too small. Yeah, I feel like 40 is the right way to go. we're actually going to avoid that one because it's too close to what I had up there. And that is fine. Let's go back to the brush layer. So the books actually have been doing really well. So I did the 20th book last week that released, and the book itself made me more money well, I shouldn't say more money. It performed better in the 7 days that it's been out officially today than it had the first 7 months of this year. So you might think that speaks very highly for Wild Magic, and it does to some extent, but it speaks lower to how I normally do, I think. Yeah, so that did well, and then I ran a promotion for the first book in that series, and we moved 1,200 copies of that over, maybe 1,300 at this point, over the past couple of days. That started running on Monday, so it's been 2 days, and we managed to move a lot of those. Now the thing is, like, that's a free book, so people pick up that book and then they just kind of sit on it for a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see, like, if that translates to sales and stuff like that later. I'm hoping. I found the next big thing I want to waste my money on, and that is I have World Anvil as a like a world Bible for myself. Yeah, they're on Amazon. I have them on Amazon. They're on Barnes & Nobles. They're on Kobo. You can actually get them, like, certain library systems can get them as well. Not quite sure the logistics of that. I know that at one point I had a library company, like, get the entire catalog, and that was a nice month for me. Because at 20 books, even if you're only making $1 off of each of them, that's beer money for someone who drinks beer. Alright, we're going to grab one of these big rocks up here. And we're going to... So we had them at 15, so we're going to move them... We're going to randomize the shape a little bit. Scooch them down to 12, we'll say. And I'm going to change the way that it looks a little bit so that it doesn't look exactly like the ones up there. So those ones have kind of like a more pale look. This one's got a dirtier look. We'll come up here. And let's see. We used this one for the left side up there, so we'll use this one for over here. And we're going to actually... At the end of the day, it's not going to matter too much. So I kind of call it like 13 plus. It's young adult and new adult. The lead character is... She's like 16 or 17. So I feel like it kind of like fits the vibe for her to be, you know, for fans and things like that to be able to jump in. Let's grab one of these stones over here. And again, we'll mess with the colors a little bit. Happy with the layer, but we might change the shadow a little bit. First, let me play around with these guys a little bit. See how it feels when we have them in place. Oop, I heard a doggy get hurt. I suspect that Rihanna ran over a doggy tail. Yeah, we're going to come here. We're going to take away the shadow. These ones have custom shadows. Let's see if these ones actually give me something. Custom object shadow default. So the intensity, 888.6. Yeah, I mean, nothing looks too crazy there, but it is pretty darn intense, so we're going to drop that down a smidge. And that way, kind of looks a bit nicer there. We're going to shift this up a little bit, and we'll do some of those little snow bits to make that look a little better. Let's twist this around this time. Do something like that. And I want that's way too big. Also way too big. This is a nice one. We can kind of say like that kind of ricocheted off that side over there. Oh, Luna stepped on Zelda's tail? That seems a little suspect. I don't know if I'd buy it. Hope Zelda's okay. Luna is our, like, half pit dog. Well, not half. Some pit. And she's a big old goober. And Zelda is a wussy pooch, for sure. She's definitely, like, learned that if she acts all pitiful, she gets more love. She's learned how to fake her injuries to get attention. Alright, so the one thing that we're losing here a little bit is we definitely already saw some depth in there because of the cave. So let me try and think of a way that we can make that. I mean, it's not going to be as deep a drop, so we don't have to be too crazy about it, but them's is fighting words, and what are you going to do about it? 157, 83, and 13. 157. Oop. Doesn't quite stay the same color now, does it? Nothing really doing there. Well, not much we're gonna do there, I guess. I really like the saturation doesn't change or anything. That gets it a little closer, I think. All my secrets? I have no secrets. So I was told that the mist, the amount of mist that you include, kind of helps to denote how bad the fall is. So I feel like if we mess with the opacity a little bit, it won't be as bad. And we can kind of infer that it's not as big of a drop there. Let's get some of that snow in there. Let's throw a couple more of those little rocks in there. I feel like that helps to sell the idea that there's some stuff going on. We don't need the difference mode there. More snow. It's over there too. Alright. Save because we're at 20. Keep moving our way down. nice thing is we're almost done with these waterfalls. Let's do something like that. It's a nice fit, I feel like. We got this big guy over here. And for a change of pace, let's do 2 of these rocks in here. Shrink that down a lot. Change the setup of that. Let's see if that one takes a different color. I don't like any of them, but that's with the saturation of that one a little bit. Make it look a little bit more gray. Something like that right next to it. So same thing as before, the only difference being this time we're going to shrink those down a little bit too. So now we've got 3 little sets of those. Throw a couple more rapids in there. I'll shrink those down a smidge too. Put the last of these rapids over here, I guess. That's a big one. Let's do a small one over here. Oop. It would help if I had the right one and had it facing the right direction. Okay, and we'll get that mist one more time. Say that's a slightly bigger drop, so we'll make the mist a little bigger. Grab the second one, make it wider. Get some more snow in there. Gotta get a couple more of the waves up here. One or two more rocks there in the middle. Grab one of these guys again. And one tiny last bit of snow. Alright. We won't do any rocks down there. It's already kind of busy. Let's save what we have one more time. And then let's just admire what we have for a second. 26 minutes into the stream or so. So we're pretty close to wrapping things up, but that is pretty good. That looks very nice. It looks much more natural than it did when it was up there in just like a nice smooth look without any cliffs on the side, without any of the rocks. The waves definitely add a nice bit of texture and everything like that, to the point where you almost like don't even see the waterfall chunks or anything like that. I wonder if there is a way that we can do something down here, but because the Oh, you know what? I just noticed a little bit of greenery down here that we have to get rid of. That might be more of our good friend. It is. The stupid top brush. I'm going to notice that for years after this map is already out and published. Alright, so what I want to do is we kind of sawed this map in half, right? We've got a half over here and a half over here. It's not a perfect half by any means. We've got a lot of stuff going on over here. We've got 3 layers of things over here and only 1 layer here. So this is going to be one of those situations where we actually have a lot going on in this map. Typically my outdoor maps only have something like 4 points of interest. We're going to try and see if we can do something that's a little bit different. So let's do not Log Allen. I don't know who Log Allen is. So we got some fallen trees that we can use. I'm going to grab that guy. That might be too big of a tree. So let's do some testing with some of these other ones. All kind of the same thing, it looks like. If we go to 4. Yeah. This one's a little narrower, so we're going to use that one. I don't want it to be quite that big. And we definitely have to go back to the top brush. Let's see, there was a little bit of that there, so we'll erase some of that. And the reason that we did this is so that we can get a stump that we can throw up there. And then the idea is there's no real easy way to cross the waterfall up here unless you're going to take one of these routes here. So if they want a slightly sturdier route, or if they even want to kind of like dam up the river up here, they can do that. They can grab this tree now and then they can throw that over there. So what this does is it gives us a little bit more presence in this top section of the map. It's not just so barren, and we'll actually do a little bit more. I'm going to grab a couple of bushes. Summer bush. Grab something like that. I want both of these to be underneath the cliff. It looks like they're moving with it. Yeah, I had one of the cliffs by accident. There we go. That cliff ended up way low. Sorry, I had to take a text for a second. Alright, and then same thing over here. We've got some busy stuff going on. Over here we don't have much. So take a bush, put there and there, and then that looks nice. So like I said, we will take a second just to kind of look it over, appreciate it. Other than that, this map is pretty much done. I mean, we'll do some variants and things like that over the next day or so. But the base map is good. This is the kind of stuff that I would throw on a battle map on our Etsy store and throw out into the world. And then very likely what I'll do is I'll just take what we already have from the adjoining maps and use a lot of the same variants that I had there. So we had like over here, instead of a background layer, what we might do is add some water, make it look like a pond or something like that. We had some corruption in a couple of places, so we could do that as well. Just a couple of different things that we could play with. If anybody has anything that they think about this map, anything they would change, anything they would add, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, what we're going to do is take a brief moment, and I am going to open up that Photoshop again. So bear with me. So the next map that we're going to be working on for next week, we do the zigzag pattern where we do map A and map B. Map A is maps that map A is maps that we're doing that are brand new to a zone, and map B is zigzagging back into places that we've been before. So 2 weeks ago we did, what did we do? The summoning? Was that the summoning week? Whatever it was. Last week we did a quote-unquote new zone, which was a different part of Versali Barai, but it's what kind of connects the tavern, which is kind of why I did that bonus map, because at this point we have 3 maps that kind of connect together. This week what we're doing is going to a place that was actually in Wild Magic, that book that I just released. It is like a tavern town, a shore town called Hidden Harbor, and the whole idea is it's just kind of like a place for sailors to bring their wares ashore. There's a couple of merchants that they can sell their things to, and they don't have to worry about any of the logistics of bringing them to towns or anything like that. And the concept of what we're going for is we're trying to build basically the first harbor that I've ever done, the first pier, docks, that kind of thing. So same thing as with the waterfall. I didn't know how to do that beforehand, and still really don't to some extent. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of practice over the weekend, I'm sure. But I think what we'll do is briefly, let's take a look. We're going to go to the Hidden Harbor plan, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to base my thoughts off of. So we're going to get rid of the Mountain Waterfall battle map. That's all saved up and everything. So this is Rich Robinson. He is a fellow Inkarnate creator. He actually made it so that you can clone and edit this map. So big shout out to Rich Robinson. I don't think I have mine available to clone and edit in a lot of cases, because it won't let you do that if you have your own personal maps and things like that, or stamps, and I have a lot of those in my maps. And it's going to be that way in a couple of these other things, including Hidden Harbor, because there's a very good chance that when we are showing off some of these boats, we're going to be using some of the sigils from the Tellus universe in there. So what you see here is his version of the docks. He's got this Docks 01. He had originally cloned it from this other map, which was Generic Sea Battle, but he deleted that, or it never existed or anything like that. In any case, at this point, it is an awesome map that we can go into, clone and edit. If you come into the map, you can see how he managed to do a lot of the cool things that he did. He's another one of those people that has learned how to kind of like break stamps in certain ways. He's much cleaner about his things, so you can see he's grouped his things up. One of the things that I noticed when I was looking at this is he's got little bird splatters here and there, and if you look at it, there's really nothing. I mean, there's no bird poop stamp or anything like that. He found a very interesting, very smart way of bringing these to life. He actually uses blood spatter. So if we unlock these, you'll see the reason that it works is because he's got the contrast all the way down, and he's got the brightness all the way up. And if we change those and bring the saturation back up, you start to see that blood again. Very cool way of doing something like that. There's a few different places on the map where he's used that. We'll very likely be using that same technique. I mean, it is a harbor town. There's bound to be a lot of fish around, things like that. he's done some very cool stuff. There's the composites for the ships are very easy to replicate because Inkarnate already has things like that available to us. He hid the sails because the sails do take up a lot of real estate, but typically what we would do is just have a version with sails and a version without sails. So we would do that. One thing that you'll notice about his map is there's a lot of stonework. He's using like the same cobblestone texture that we use on the Versailles Barai map. Hidden Harbor is a little bit more rustic, so we're not going to have these piers that kind of go into this wooden style over here. I think what we're going to end up doing is it's going to be all wooden. There's not going to be like anything crazy there. So we're going to have to play with that a little bit to see what we get. And I think we're still going to go that diagonal route. I like the way that the ships kind of fit there. But one of the things that you're going to notice is, I'm going to move over my Photoshop now. So we're planning on making it a 3x3 zone. We have to make enough room for the buildings of Hidden Harbor, the various piers, because it is primarily and predominantly a place for sailors to come and, you know, put up their feet, everything like that, and sell their goods. So it can't just be one or two boats, you know, dock there. It's going to be, there's a lot of merchant activity there and things like that. We know at least there's going to be a tavern. There's probably going to be a warehouse. There might be like a small shipyard so that repairs can be made and things like that. The boat's probably not going to go into the, you know, like the building there, but we could probably do something like that. With all this real estate here, we could probably make, if that's like our land layer and this is the shore and like where the piers are, there's probably a good chance for us to do the things that we need to. Now, I think the focal point of this zone is right here in the middle. We're going to have our new tavern. That's not to say that the tavern is going to be the very first thing that we work on, but at the very least, what we can do is kind of start to put some stuff around. So let me get my stuff. I've got my pen and I've got a glove over here so I don't mess up my monitor. So we've got what we're calling the construction layer. If we go to black here, and we should be able to draw anywhere in that square that we want in order to make what we want of the tavern. Now this tavern is not going to be as big as the King's Charter, not by any means. But I'm trying to conceptualize where this all makes sense going. The reason that I'm putting it that way is because, again, we know that we're going to have the... I don't need that. I need the brush layer. I'm playing nice for some reason. Oh, it's because I have that tiny little selection there. So something like that. That technically gives us enough room for 8 ships. And then the question is, do we put the shore something like that? Or does the shore start here? And we kind of go from there. So we would see the start of the piers here. And it might be a situation where not all of the tavern is right here on the top map. It could be. Like I said, it's a small tavern comparatively speaking, but I don't know if we want it to be right at the shoreline or if we want the main portion of the tavern to be up here. What do my people in the chat think? Do we have the tavern for Hidden Harbor way up here with some other stuff down here? Or do we have the tavern be like the central point of this zone and kind of build it out so that it lets us play with it a little bit differently? We might extend it so that that tavern comes out to right there so that we have enough room. I would imagine that we're going to use another spot on here to kind of visually show what I'm planning for it. So if the tavern is rectangular, we're not going to do anything crazy with it like the King's Charter, where it had all kinds of different geometric, well, I mean, they were all rectangles, but they kind of jutted out. The way that I imagine this going is we've got the bar area, which is right here. There's a kitchen back here, and then this, of course, is framing stairs that go up a little bit. So the bedrooms upstairs, very likely to be something like 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. Not a huge tavern by any means. And the reason for that is, typically speaking, these sailors are going to continue to spend time on their boat. You know, they've got a place that they call home. Even when they're on shore, they're not doing anything too crazy. In the book itself, when the characters get to Hidden Harbor, there is reference to there being quote-unquote ladies of the sea who might frequent this tavern. So that might be, you know, they might be hanging around for that reason. But just as easily, they could be going back to these people's boats and stuff like that. They're trying to live that life, so that kind of thing makes sense. Excuse me one second. I've been talking so much, choking a little bit. Excuse me. All right, so we got the vote from the wife, which is stronger than any other vote. So let's do this real quick. We're going to erase some of that. Don't need that one. But this, what we should be able to do is move that over and shrink it down as needed. So, Rihanna, since you think it should be our central location as well, do you think that it should be relatively close to the piers? Something like that? We've got, you know, we'll do like some kind of, like, I don't know, like a dirt road or something that kind of comes off of those wooden pieces that makes it look like it's a little bit more well-traveled. And then here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're going to clean that up a smidge. Because 17, well, if it was 18, it would be a 90-foot wide tavern. That's pretty darn big. And we don't need it to be that big. So, same thing that we just did, but instead we're going to hold down the shift key, and that should let us scrunch it a little bit. So at this point, a little bit more square. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to 70 feet. Let's scrunch it one more time. But we'll scrunch it. Actually, let's do it the opposite way. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. A little bit more scrunch. That's a good scrunch. And we're going to have that one right around there. And these stairs probably going to be a little bit higher up and things like that as well. So let's go back in and clean some of this up so we have a good idea what we're working with. So we're not even going to see on the base map that top floor. We're just going to see where the stairs terminate to. But for the sake of what we're trying to accomplish here, if we have, what is it again, 14 across? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if we do a line here, well, here, let's change that brush size so it's a little smaller to work with. So here we've got a 5x4, which is a 16x20, and a 4x4 room, and another 4x5. And what we'll do is, on the second floor, the way that I'm imagining it, this is kind of like a banister. And then we've got... So if we've got a flight of stairs that starts here... Oop. Gotta clean up this side a little bit. Juts in too far. And that actually might change the way it looks. Here, let's clean it up. I forgot how far down we went. Okay, nice straight line there comparatively. That gives us a decent amount of room for activities, so to speak. We'll make the bar here. Some seats here. Leaves us some room for some tables. So, again, I don't really want the main focus of this map to be on the tavern, because we've already done a tavern. So we don't have to go crazy when it comes to that. Let's go to the construction layer, get rid of some of this stuff, because what we're going to do is make the focal point of our very first map in this zone what we see in the green down here. So we don't have any boats except for the one that we put in the fjord. And that'll help us to kind of be a little bit more expressive with what we want to do. So Rihanna, you're the one who's making all these votes. Do you think that where we have the shore makes sense right here? Or should we have the shore kind of terminate like right there along that bottom line? You just see the pillars, or the piers start to form, but we're really going to put that focus on down here. So we'll extend these a lot further so that we can see those boats. You think putting that like 15-foot stretch makes a little bit more sense? In any case, what we'll do is erase some of this smush, so the kind of stuff that I have now looks right. Ooh. Just the construction layer. Alrighty. That gives us something to work with here. So let's go back to the brush, and I think... So again, we want enough for a decent amount of boats to dock here. I believe they call that docking. You know what? This actually, if we do this, this might give us something fun to work with. So if I start here, I move that over, and we're going to say this is a 10-foot pier. And now at this point, this is layer 11. This is not on the construction layer. So what I should be able to do is grab that and shift it. Hey-o! So, Rihanna, you're my construction buddy here. Do we like 45 degrees? Do we like 30 degrees? Or do we like something in between? So this right here is 30. And then if I shift that, is that 60? It's 45. I'll do 2 so you can see them side by side. You jerk. I don't know geometry. Do you prefer the one on the left, which is Rihanna doesn't know left and right either, so that's left. That's right. Do you like left or do you like right? As far as the way that those boats are going to come into the harbor. Yeah, I definitely don't want it to be straight up and down. I think in some cases it makes sense. Like if we were doing like a real ritzy city or something like that, they might have it be like that. That might be like their idea of where they would want to go. Okay, so this one over here that I'm circling is the one that you like. Is what I think I heard. My silly Twitch has such a delay. Okie dokie. Well, that makes life easy because all I have to do is delete layer 12 and then we're back down to layer 11, which is this guy here. So what we're going to do is probably figure out a way to make it so that we can do one there, one there. Oh my god! And one there. So the nice thing about the way that we just did it is, yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? The nice thing about the way that we just did it is these are all equidistant from one another, so we can put a boat, 2 boats, whatever we want to do. And yeah, we'll figure out some way to bring the shore to the pier or the pier to the shore, whether or not that's extending the wooden part of the pier up or if there's some other better way to do it. I'm definitely going to study some other docks and piers and harbors and stuff like that. But at least for now, we have 2 of the big things done. We have the plan for what we're doing with the tavern done. And then we have the pier and the shoreline done. We know that there's going to be a couple other buildings here in Hidden Harbor. It's not all by itself, but the other cool thing is up here, very likely to be the start of a forest. If we really wanted to be nuts, we might even be able to have that be the start of another zone. We do have a forest zone, but I don't know that makes sense for that to be where it is. So we'll just kind of figure about what that's going to be and kind of go from there. But the good news is we're good to save this. We know that for next time we can bring this green area into Inkarnate, play around with it a little bit, figure out how to do those things, and we'll be in good shape. So I am going to stop doing work on maps for now. Let's head back into OBS. Give me 1 second. Actually going to close Photoshop again because it's making everything run slow. Get this going for us. If I can. My computer's going to die. You can do it. So I found out today too the Etsy link that I have is completely pointless. I'm gonna have to clean that up, and over the next couple of shows, because our Etsy link is much easier than that. But I think it's just tellus.etsy.com. But let's see what we got here. Let me close out of Inkarnate because I don't need that up anymore. My computer is running so badly right now I might not be able to close the show. That's how bad it is. Bear with me for 1 second. All right. We're just going to try and wing it. So, folks, thank you for joining me on the stream today. On the screen, you should be able to see all the places that you can find my content. To find more about my books and my fantasy universe, you can go to tellus.com. For the battle maps that my brother and I are creating, like what you're seeing here, you can see them on patreon.com/tellus in their full form, including all their variants. To see my streams live, you can be sure to check me out here on twitch.tv/thattellusguy. To see all the streams that I've ever done for maps and Talking Tellus, you can check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@worldoftellus. For our video game related content, you can go to thatentertains.com or the That's Entertainment YouTube, youtube.com/@That's Entertainment Games, to find all of our awesome merchandise, including high-quality mouse pads, handcrafted magic wands, battle maps, posters, and more. Head to our shop at etsy.com/shop/tellus, or I believe it's tellus/Etsy. I'll figure it out for sure for next time. But what we have up here will take you there as well. So I am going to hop off for a tiny bit, go downstairs, maybe watch an episode of TV, and then I will be back on in a short while. It really all depends on whether or not Rihanna's begging to keep playing Palia. But either way, tonight I will be playing another hour or so of Jedi Survivor, because I'm getting close to the end of that game, and I don't have a lot of time to do it because we've got 6 more days until Sea of Stars comes out, and then 2 days after that, Starfield comes out, and I am not going to be able to have any free time, so we got to figure that out quick. So, thank you for joining me for the stream. I will see you shortly if you join me for my video game content, and we'll see you for more map stuff next week on Tuesday. Thank you again.